Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. Adeoye Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and the People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural, and political group. He invested his
Western Spring Television, ours it is.
Good evening and welcome to Spring Global on Western Spring Television. Now the headline. Nasarawa government approves 5% employment slot for PWD. Ukraine launches missile attack on Crimea. Indians Kerala shut schools and offices to cope deadly Nipah virus. My name is FEMI Ojo. Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has approved the 5% employment slot for persons with disabilities, PWDs, in the state. This is contained in a statement today by the head of civil service of the state, Ms. Abigail Wire. According to Wire, the approval became necessary in furtherance to the commitment of the Sule-led administration and recognition of the importance of providing equal opportunities for all residents of the state. The head of civil service said that the governor had already directed all ministries, departments, and agencies to henceforth reserve 5% of every recruitment exercise for PWCs, persons living with disabilities. She, however, said that PWDs must have the necessary academic qualifications for the vacancies that exist. According to her, the directive is in accordance with the Domesticated Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Act of the state, signed in 2018. Outside Nigeria, Russia says Ukraine has launched 10 missiles and 3 unmanned boats in an attack on the home of its Black Sea Fleet in Crimea. Russia said the attack caused a large fire at a Sevastopol shipyard, which left 24 people injured. Moscow installed Governor Mikhail Raskozaev claimed most of the weapons were intercepted, but that 2 ships had been damaged. Ukraine has strongly implied Western-supplied cruise missiles were used. A photo shared by Mr. Raskozaev on Telegram shows flames engulfing what appears to be a ship at a port as he stands speaking into his phone. It is thought to be in an area where ships were undergoing repairs. A large landing ship named Minsk and a submarine called the Rostov-on-Don, both thought to be in dry dock, are said to have been damaged. This makes it one of Ukraine's most significant attacks so far on the Black Sea Fleet. The Russian Defense Ministry, however, said both vessels will be fully repaired and continue in normal service. Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry today said the Vatican envoy, Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, will visit China for talks of resolving the conflict in Ukraine, despite the lack of formal bilateral relations between Beijing and the Holy See. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ming, in a news conference, revealed that China's special envoy for Eurasian affairs, Li Hui, will meet with Zuppi for talks. According to Ning, China has always been committed to promoting the issue of peace talks in Ukraine. The Vatican, on its part, revealed on Tuesday that Zuppi will be in China from today to Friday as part of the diplomatic push to facilitate peace in Ukraine. The Italian-born cardinal visited Kiev and Moscow in June and then Washington in July as part of the Holy See's attempts to bring Ukraine and Russia to the negotiating table. Since Russian forces swept into Ukraine in February 2022, China has refrained from condemning its ally, Moscow, although it has repeatedly called for a ceasefire and a political solution to the crisis. In another development, a Pennsylvania fugitive has been caught 2 weeks after he escaped prison. It sparked a massive manhunt. Local media footage shows Cavalcante being loaded into the back of an armored police van. The 4-year-old Danilo Cavalcante was arrested in a wooded area inside a police perimeter, according to a law enforcement source. The Brazilian national broke out on 31st of August and more than 500 officers were deployed on his trail. He was sentenced last month to life for killing his former girlfriend in front of her 2 young children in April 2021. Also wanted in connection with the murder in his own country, he had evaded a previous police perimeter over the weekend. Residents of Chester County had been on edge amid multiple recent sightings. Police on Tuesday warned that the escaped murderer had stolen a caliber rifle from a home. Family members of the killer's slain victim, Deborah Brandao, have been under 24-hour police surveillance for fear he may attempt to confront them. Pennsylvania Governor Joe Shapiro, who confirmed that the escaped inmate captured today by law enforcement, thanked law enforcement officials for their work in the manhunt.
I couldn't be more proud to be standing up here today with these professionals from every level. And while they did extraordinary work, we had a tremendous assist from the public here in Chester County. I want to say thank you to the public for their vigilance. Thank you for the constructive tips that they shared. Thank you for remaining on guard. We recognize this has been a concerning and trying time for each and every one of you in the region. We want to thank you for your support of law enforcement and for your support of this effort that led to this capture today.
In Asia, India's southern state of Kerala shut some schools, offices, and public transport today in a race to stop the spread of the rare and deadly Nipah virus, which has killed 2 people. State Health Minister Veena George said an adult and a child were still infected in hospital. More than 130 people have been tested for the virus, spread via contact with the bodily fluids of infected bats, pigs, or people. 2 infected people have died since August 30th in the state's fourth outbreak of the virus since 2018, forcing authorities to declare containment zones in at least 7 villages. Strict isolation rules have been adopted, with medical staff being quarantined after contact with the infected. The first victim was a small landholder growing bananas, and they are reckoned in the district village of Marutunkara. The victim's daughter and brother-in-law, both infected, are in an isolation ward, while other family members and neighbors have been tested. A government official traced the movement of the victim to track down all the people he could have interacted with and the places visited before his health started to deteriorate. 3 federal teams, including experts from the National Virology Institute, have however arrived today to conduct more tests and to survey the fruit bat population from the isolated villages. Authorities in southern China have launched an operation to find more than 17 crocodiles that escaped when flood hit the region in recent days. It will be recalled that a typhoon brought sustained heavy rain to southern China last week. According to local media reports, deluges around the city of Maoming in Guizhou province caused the lake at a commercial crocodile farm to overflow, with more than 70 crocodiles escaping. 69 adult crocodiles and 6 juveniles were said on the prowl near the village of Pencon. A video published by the state-backed Beijing News showed emergency responders in red uniforms searching flooded fields in rescue boats. Other images showed several 2-meter-long crocodiles lying on the road, their jaws bound with red tape. Crocodiles are bred in China for their skin and meat, which is sometimes used in traditional medicine. The stricken area is also home to a crocodile theme park and the country's largest crocodile breeding center, according to the China National Radio. A fishing vessel owned by Greenland's government will attempt to use a high tide to pull free a Bahamas-flagged luxury cruise ship carrying 206 people that ran aground in the world's northernmost national park. Captain FEMI Martin of the Danish Joint Arctic Command told the Associated Press that the passengers and crew on the ship stranded in northwestern Greenland were doing fine. A spokesperson for Australian cruise operator Aurora Expeditions, which operates the cruise ship, also confirmed in an email statement that everyone on board the cruise ship was safe and well. The scientific fishing vessel was scheduled to arrive later today to attempt, when the conditions were right, to pull the 104.4-meter-long and 18-meter-wide motor vessel Ocean Explorer free. Earlier, Joint Arctic Command Head of Operations, Commander Brian Jensen, had in the statement expressed worry about the troubled cruise ship as the command's units were far away and the weather quite unfavorable. The cruise ship ran aground on Monday in the northeastern Greenland National Park, which is known for icebergs and the moss ocean that roam the coast. The crew made 2 failed attempts to get the ship to float free on its own during the high tide. Dozens of cruise ships sail along Greenland's coast every year, so passengers can admire the picturesque mountainous landscape with the terrain, which has its waterways packed with icebergs of different sizes and glaciers jutting out into the sea. Austria's pro-Russian former foreign minister Karin Nessel is moving to St. Petersburg along with her 2 ponies. Karin Nessel, who left government amidst a scandal that engulfed the far-right Austrian party that appointed her, had been living in Lebanon. She said her ponies were flown to St. Petersburg on a Russian military transport plane from Syria. Ms. Nessel said she had decided to move to Russia to run a think tank at the Gorky Center, which she co-founded in St. Petersburg University. She also revealed on social media that living in Lebanon had been a temporary solution to survive while she was commuting to Russia to teach. Ms. Nessel is a noted animal lover. She said on social media that because of sanctions against Syria and the security situation there, in the military transport plane was our only option to bring our ponies and other belongings to Russia. Karin Nessel was Austria's foreign minister from 2017 to 2019. She was an independent chosen for the job by Austria's far-right Freedom Party which is known for its close contact with Russia. The sale made headlines in 2018 when she invited Vladimir Putin to her wedding in southern Austria. Pictures were released showing her dancing with the Russian president.
It's a full-time occupation right now, and I don't like to do things just 10%, half percent. So when I was offered this opportunity and when we discussed the statute, I said, okay, I move to St. Petersburg if possible. And I'm very grateful to St. Petersburg State University for all the logistical support, because it's not easy to move to Russia, getting a work visa, getting all the paperwork done. And on all that, St. Petersburg State University has been helping me. So I'm here, and I just moved into an apartment which I'm renting in St. Petersburg.
You're watching Spring Global on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trade and investments of Western powers. Western Spring Television identifies Berlin Conference as a major event in history.
You're welcome back. In the United States, 5 former Memphis police officers were charged on Tuesday with federal civil rights violations and the beating to death of Tyre Nichols as they continue to fight second-degree murder charges in state court arising from the killing. Tadarius Bain, Desmond Mills, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin, and Justin Smith were indicted in U.S. District Court in Memphis. The 4-count indictment charges them with deprivation of rights under the color of law through excessive force and failure to intervene, through deliberate indifference, conspiracy, witness tampering, and obstruction of justice through witness tampering. The charges come 9 months after the violent beating during a January 7th traffic stop near Nichols' Memphis home, in which they punched, kicked, and slugged the 29-year-old with a baton as he yelled for his mother. Nichols died at a hospital 3 days later. The 5 former officers, all black, like Nichols, pleaded not guilty to state charges of second-degree murder and other alleged offenses in the case. U.S. Attorney Kevin Rich in West Tennessee said at an afternoon briefing that the state and federal cases are on separate tracks. Rich, however, declined to predict how quickly they would proceed. Christine Clark, who leads the U.S. Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, said at the appearance that the 5 former officers who used excessive force failed to advise medical personnel about Nichols' injuries and conspired to cover up their misconduct. Caught on police video, the Nichols beating was one in a string of violent encounters between police and black people that sparked protests and renewed debate about police brutality and police reform in the U.S.
Earlier this afternoon, a federal grand jury returned an indictment charging 5 former Memphis police officers with violating Tyree Nichols' civil rights, resulting in Mr. Nichols' death. The indictment also charges those same 5 defendants with obstruction of justice.
The charges allege that 5 former Scorpion team detectives used excessive force, resulting in the death of Mr. Nichols, that they aided and abetted each other in using that excessive force, and that they failed to intervene to stop that excessive force. We also allege that after they used excessive force on Mr. Nichols, the detectives failed to render medical aid or to advise the dispatcher and emergency medical personnel of Mr. Nichols' serious medical needs, even as his condition deteriorated and as he became unresponsive. As time passed at the arrest scene, the defendants discussed striking Mr. Nichols, hitting him with straight haymakers and taking turns hitting him, information that they failed to tell EMTs and paramedics. We also charge all 5 detectives with conspiring to and taking overt action to cover up their misconduct. Earlier today, I sat down with Tyree Nichols' mother and father to convey my sympathy for their loss. I extend my deepest condolences to Tyree's family and to all of those who knew him and loved him. It is tragic to see a life cut short at 29 with so many milestones unmet, so many words unsaid, and so much potential unfulfilled. Tyree Nichols should be alive today. No one in this country should have to bury a loved one because of police violence. The Justice Department will never stop working to fulfill our duty to protect the American people from excessive and unlawful use of force by officials acting under color of law.
The Chinese currency, yuan, demonstrated its strengthening trend as a central party parity rate touched at 92 pips, reaching 7.18 against the US dollar today. The adjustment was reported by the China Foreign Exchange Trade System. The Chinese Port Foreign Exchange market maintains a system in which the yuan is permitted to fluctuate within a 2% margin, either upward or downward, relative to the central parity rate during each trading day. The central parity rate of the yuan against the US dollar is calculated based on weighted average derived from the prices quoted by market makers just prior to the commencement of daily business in the interbank market. Talking sports, Nottingham Forest Harry Toffolo has been handed a suspended 5-month ban and fined almost £21,000 after admitting to 375 breaches of the Football Association's betting rule. The governing body today made this known. The breaches occurred between 2014 to 2017 when the fullback was with Norwich City and Athlone Spurs clubs including Swindon Town, Rotherham United, Peterborough United and Scunthorpe United. The defender admitted that he breached the FA rule 375 times between 22nd of January 2014 and 18th of March 2017. An independent regulatory commission imposed his sanctions following a hearing. Toffolo played 19 times for Forest in the 2022-2023 season as they survived the relegation battle to stay in the top flight. The 28-year-old also made 6 appearances for the England under-20s between 2015 and 2016. In May, Brentford and England striker Ivan Toney was banned from football for 8 months and fined £50,000 after admitting to 232 breaches of the Football Association's betting rules. Super Falcons forward Desire Paranozie has announced her retirement from professional football. The 29-year-old made the announcement on her X handle today. In the post, Paranozie, who thanked her fans, family and friends for their show of love and support over the years, stated it was time to take a bow from professional football, both at club level and country. So we recall that the forward started her career at Bayelsa Queens in the Nigerian Women's Championship. Paranozie came into the limelight after featuring for Nigeria's opponent at the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in 2010. She was part of the Super Falcons squad that won the African Women's Cup of Nations in 2010, 2014, 2016, and 2018. The striker scored 22 goals in 35 appearances for Nigeria. She played for clubs in Turkey, Russia, Germany, France, and China. Paranozi was part of Super Falcons squad for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. And before we end the Spring Global, here is a recap of our top stories. Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has approved a 25% employment slot for persons with disabilities, PWD, in the state. Russia says Ukraine has launched 10 missiles and 3 unmanned boats in an attack on the home of its Black Sea Fleet in Crimea. India's southern state of Kerala shut some schools, offices, and public transport today in a race to stop the spread of the rare and deadly Nipah virus, which has killed 2 people. You can follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. I am FEMI OJO. Thank you for watching. Good evening.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be showing on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.